way more powerful.
You and I, folks, we've been through a lot. This video is going to be very, very interesting. We talk a lot about peptide, steroids, and a bunch of other things being abused in several different capacities, but we've never really talked about women using peptides in a safe manner, but maybe going a little bit too far with it. You'll see what I mean here in a sec. I think the really important thing to take away, though, just from the jump, is like the peptide market has gone so far and wide. People are getting peptides who don't even know what they are, have never heard of anything like this before, and don't even understand pharmacology to the slightest extent. It's really weird, and I've heard some bizarre stories from a lot of you, some good, some bad, but this one tops the cake, is something I've never seen before.
Guys, let's talk about what I take to maintain this. There might be a lot of negative people around this, but I'm telling you, people that go to the gym and try to sell courses to you are on this shit, okay? This is not advertisement. This is purely just informative information about what I take, because people do ask. I am on peptides, so I have been maybe for like 6 weeks, but I've been on NT2, which is a tanning injectable, and I inject it in my thigh for 3 years, okay?
Yeah, so we're taking multiple different peptides here, and this is honestly one of the most extreme uses of Melanotan 2 I've ever seen in my life. Now, let's briefly explain what that is, because you're probably thinking, well, what is she taking this for? If you don't know what it is, you're thinking, she's taking it to get skinny, she's taking it to, you know, build muscle, whatever your thoughts might be there, they're probably wrong. So Melanotan 2 is a synthetic analog of a compound in your body called melanocyte-stimulating hormone, and it is increasing the amount of melanin that your body produces in one way or another. It essentially is hard coding for melanogenesis and darkening the pigmentation of one's skin forcefully, which is really interesting. It means more melanin production in melanosomes, and then from that, more melanin. I'm laughing because I've said the word melanin so many times it starts sounding weird. You know, when you say something like over and over again, it starts sounding funny in your head. That's what's happening right now. The melanin gets converted into keratinocytes. In other words, it's creating tanner skin without the necessity to have UV exposure. It also does a couple other things which are really unique, like somewhat regulating appetite. To be honest, it just makes you sick to your stomach, so you don't want to eat on it because you feel like you have flu-like symptoms, which it may be a good idea for some people, I guess. I hate it, so that's just my personal preference. But I'm also as white as a piece of paper, so I don't even think I can get tan. And then the other thing that she's taking is called RET.
The next thing I'm on is RET, which is a shredding peptide. A lot of people in the gym that do the bikini competitions are on RET, and it's kind of like a skinnier, it's like an Ozempic, but it just shreds you.
Or well, she calls it RET. It's short for Retatrutide. It is another compound in which a lot of people are using these days. It is a GLP-1 agonist, similar to Ozempic, but essentially she's taking this to inhibit her appetite further and, of course, enhance fat loss. Now, how can a GLP-1 outside of just stimulating fullness be causing fat loss? Well, Retatrutide is really unique. It's a triagonist compound. It affects 3 different receptor sites and different pathways in the body. So we're talking about, yes, GLP-1, but we're talking also about glucagon and GIP. And the other two, the GIP and glucagon, really aid in the fat loss department. And so you can have an expression of fat loss that's far greater without any appetite, and therefore improve your body composition quite exponentially. Now, some people do report a couple different problems with these peptides, one of which being the overproduction of red blood cells with prolonged exposure to Melanotan 2. This really isn't stated anywhere clinically that's super good in terms of evidence, but it is something that I've seen in clients who have taken it for a prolonged period of time. And when we're talking on the scale of 2 to 3 years with somebody here who definitely doesn't seem the most educated on what she's doing, it's a bit concerning, and hopefully she's getting labs to determine how her red blood cell production is going. Not only that, but you pair it with Retatrutide, which uniquely actually inhibits appetite in such a way that sometimes drinking water becomes a disgust. It's not something you're fond of, and so you stop drinking as much water, dehydrating yourself. If your blood is already quite viscous from being, thick, essentially, the dehydration could be a very large problem down the road. But Barbie knows best. Barbie knows best. Okay?
Guys, here is the video of all the work I've done and where I've got it done. Let's first start with the titties. So I got 345cc with teardrop under the muscle and a fat transfer from my thigh. The next thing I got done were my abs, which is high def liposuction. It cost me 14K altogether because I had my flanks done as well.
Guys, here's something that's crazy to consider. This is the female clavicular. She is 21 years old. Now, what's really interesting about these procedures is they are relatively an anti-aging procedure, but it also makes her look wildly older, which is very interesting. Like, she does not look like a 21-year-old lady. She looks like a 28 to 32-year-old lady. Do you know what I mean? And you can see the comments on this post just like absolutely pointing that out. And let me be clear, I do appreciate her transparency, and I think stuff like this is actually more helpful sometimes than it is detrimental, but that's under the guise of education. When you're uneducated and you're talking about these things, sometimes it can lead people to bad decisions trying to replicate your results. But people are saying she's 21, I thought she was 40. I mean, that's diabolical because she's doing everything in her power to look younger, to reduce fine lines, to reduce aging, and to improve her physique and aesthetically please the people around her, but inevitably it's almost maturing her faster. And this is the same thing you see with clavicular too. He took steroids at a very young age. What is theorized online from forum posts that he made long ago, at 14 years old he started steroids. So it sort of forced his maturation. It made him appear older, which generally, for those of you who have not reached the unk age of 28 yet, so hey, by the way, I'm not an unk, all right? I'm not an unk. But you don't really get to like peak attraction until you're like 25, 28, and maybe even a little bit onwards, because you don't fully maturate. You're not done with maturity yet physically. And so these people are almost quickening how fast they do mature as a means to appear more attractive quickly. But the back end of that, I have to question, what is it? When these people do get to the ages of 40, are they going to look 40 or will they look 50 or 60? To be 21 and need all of this, that's dramatic and borderline some form of personality disorder. Now, there's a lot of things I support. Hydrofacials, I think, are actually very beneficial, and she nailed it. It is one of those things that you could probably do if you're fair-skinned like me or in the sun often. But also Botox is very, very effective, and one thing people don't realize is sort of a prophylactic treatment. It's something you do before you age so that you don't increase fine lines as you age, and it's something that I wish I would have started sooner. But when we're verging into the use of peptides and very likely other things that she's not disclosing, at 21 years old, I definitely have some concerns. And if you just scroll through her Instagram, it's really, I mean, you can tell pretty damn quick that she is doing the most to have like the Barbie aesthetic. And it's probably great. Honestly, like, she probably loves it because no doubt she gets a lot of attention from it. That attention obviously leads to dividends in some capacity, in which capacity we shall not talk about here because YouTube does not like those capacities, but some capacity. All right, the capacity is that she's a mattress actress, okay? That's, I think, the PG way to appropriately say this stuff on YouTube. They don't like it when I bring up the other stuff, so she is a mattress actress. So she's obviously making money from what she's doing. But I can't help but feel a little bit bad because some of this is pure delusion, that this is necessary at her age. And some of this, honestly, I feel like is probably tantalizing. It's like living in torture in some capacity because she feels the need to look this good, to do this much to achieve a certain aesthetic. And so anything that's aesthetically displeasing to her, I'm sure it's quite disappointing. And she's probably one of those people that recognizes her own image more than other people's around her. I believe this is called narcissism. All for this kind of look, which is somebody's fuerte. It's not personally mine, but it's somebody's fuerte. Now, Retatrutide is sweeping the fitness industry by storm, and it's because it's really effective. But I can see some problems developing with that a lot of people aren't talking about. And I'm someone who's very pro GLP-1s. I think they're honestly as close to a miracle drug as you can get, but they still have their costs. Biology doesn't give you free lunch, and if you look around, you find out pretty quick. There's a whole swath of research coming out showing that there is very concerning features of GLP-1 agonists, such as depression. And there's not a clear connection as to why this is. We do know that GLP-1s are mentally active, like neurologically speaking. It's just we don't know necessarily what or how. And that's a large part of the problem with a lot of these research chemicals, and even chemicals that have been approved for human use and are actively used in patients. And there's theories swimming around as to why these are causing mental health issues. Some of it is their off-targeted effects, like you diminish your enjoyment of food. And I think we can all agree, food is a very large part of a human life. If you go out with your friends, you usually eat food. If you're on the holidays, you're eating food with family. If you're sad, you get a sweet treat and cheer yourself up. It's like a little dopamine shot in your head, literally. And you kind of lose that when you're on GLP-1s. And so things become less enjoyable. And it's not just food. It's also other things. GLP-1s have been effective for smoking cessation, stopping people from using nicotine. And if you think about that, it's limiting the reward from the use of nicotine, which is highly concerning because if you extrapolate just a little bit further, why is it limiting reward? And so you could come to the conclusion that maybe these GLP-1s are in fact limiting people's ability to feel rewarded, which sounds like it's not that important, but it really, really is when you're talking about introspective happiness. Anyways, I think it's really interesting to watch social experiments like this happen and unfold live in front of us. It is really eye-opening sometimes too to see a lot of this going down, and unfortunately a lot of these people are being rewarded for their activities, and take that as you will. I guess it's hard to say exactly what that means in the long term. Again, I think what's really going to be super fascinating is when we fast forward 10-15 years, where these people go in life and what they look like and how mentally they are doing. It is very interesting. You could bring up eating disorders, you could bring up lots of different things, but it's interesting. We'll just say that. I think one thing that's really useful for a lot of people is honestly just like unplugging yourself from it all. And it's really hard to do when you're plugged in right now. You're watching me, obviously. So, you know, like this is sort of hypocritical, but truly like unplugging yourself from social media can sometimes, I guess, take the shroud from over your head, and you can start to see clearly that a lot of this stuff isn't actually necessary to feel loved in the world and to be appreciated, or to feel worth it. You know what I mean? It's not needed. You can get along just fine without all of these things. I'm not saying, you know, body positivity and all this stuff. Like if you're fat, you need to fix that. That's a problem. But I am saying that you can derive happiness from far greater things than just your outward appearance. Now, again, hypocritical because I care about my physical appearance, and I think all people should, but to an extent that is healthy and conducive to your success as a human being in our society. So yeah, I'll leave it with that. Thanks for watching, folks. Subscribe if you haven't already.
This is war with the enemy. Think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me. I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak.